day in Bournemouth or you come up to Westminster for the day. So if you do report some flight tipping, as an example, that you can guarantee that we'll get to the right authority pretty much in a matter of minutes. And that was part of the functionality that we offer. It had to be free to use, so you can just go and download the app, and I will show you the app in a moment, just to give you a step through and breathe a little bit of life into it. And the other piece is functionally rich. We know there's a bunch more stuff we can do through the mobile channel. We may not want to turn it on all in day one, but we need to know that we can do that, and we need to know that it's configured to allow us to do that. So we talked about this concept of a functionally rich app, an app that does a bunch of stuff. In terms of how it works, the integration, I'm going to gloss over this very briefly, but the customer is out on the street doing their stuff, doing their thing, they identify something they want to report to the authority, they can do that quickly and easily using the app like I would have showed you. That pushes back through our managed service platform, and then through a technical middleware layer effectively pops itself up as a case automatically within the New Forest CRM system. They can then do all of their case management, the signage, whatever they want to do, and as that's moving and progressing through the workflow, so that's triggering off notifications back to the customer automatically. So there's a two-way integration piece there in terms of keeping the customer updated in terms of what's going on with the case that they've submitted. So beyond that kind of phase one of the project, delivery of the customised app, that two-way integration piece, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Ken and his colleagues at New Forest want to deliver. One is integration with the e-citizen portal, so that as soon as someone registers, it's automatically tied in with their existing single customer view and all of the services that they're using and so on and so forth. And also the addition of additional interactive services via the mobile channel. And often, certainly with the platform that we've provided, these can be configuration components that can be turned on. The point being that there's not necessarily an ongoing services delivery overhead from our point of view. These are things that can be turned on and off and configured by the customer. And the idea there is about using the resources efficiently and keeping the cost of ownership down to a minimum. But it's things like enabling payment through the mobile application. It's things like doing more complex processes and turning those on, things like bulky waste collection, or where's my nearest. A whole range of things that can be done quite effectively through small screen, internet-enabled mobile devices that we're enabling through this interface for Ken and his customers. So, the results so far. Ken basically at this stage is very happy with the fact that the thing has been delivered at a very sustainable level of investment. I think these slides will be available for download, so I'm not going to read them all back to you. And it was delivered on time with no hiccups and everybody's happy. So big thumbs up in that regard in terms of the project from Ken's perspective and his colleagues. More practically, this is a quote from Anita Young, who's the contact centre manager that works for Glean. And the benefit for Anita and her customers is much less time spent taking and capturing information from those customers that are using the mobile channel, and it appears automatically, and the quality of that information is much, much stronger because it's been captured through a systematic process using the mobile application. Where is it? What is it? What does it look like? Much more concise in terms of capturing that information, perhaps in a phone call or an email coming in. And then from Mike Cash, who's in charge basically of all the blue-collar staff at New Forest, his gain out of it is I've got a much more effective way of getting that information and going and dealing with it. So if it's a piece of flight tipping, I know where it is, I know what it is, so what click do I send, and is there any special risk around it, and how do I prioritise it? So there's a whole bunch of incremental gains throughout the process that lead to quite a significant improvement in the way that the county can respond to inbound requests from customers. With the the opportunity then beyond phase one to do a whole bunch more stuff through that channel once the adoption gets going. Okay, so I've got a minute left. I'll whistle through this fairly quickly, but what I wanted to do is just kind of give you the project timeline in terms of what was done when. We first engaged with New Forest in July, August of last year. The project actually started in terms of actually doing some work and rolling our sleeves up and getting stuck in October. All of the work was done, the technical work and the development and delivery of product and technology was done by mid-December. There was a bit of a hiatus over the Christmas period, and then subsequent to that we did an internal soft launch, and as of now there is a much more kind of aggressive adoption and promotion campaign going on with the marketing communications department at New Forest. And then phase two will kick off as of May. Okay, so the point being, and the reason I want to share that with you, is that within a 8 to 12 week period, the thing was done. There's a relatively quick way of getting enabled. Risks, well, I think it's fair to talk about the risks. It's relatively new. We think that driving awareness as a customer is incredibly important. You have to make sure that you do that. You need to ensure that mobile is part of your wider online strategy. And I think it's very important to build a robust corporate level business case that sits underneath it in terms of what you're expecting now in the near term, the first 9 months and beyond that point. And a little bit kind of this whole kind of mobile, social media type idea, and a little bit to the kind of localism agenda of, are you comfortable with being a little bit out of control of some of these processes whilst having to maintain governance and responsibility for them? So it does open up a little bit of a brave new world. And finally, what is it reasonable to expect? You should be looking for something that's locally branded and designed and configured, but nationally enabled. We suggest you need to make sure that it's across multiple platforms today and tomorrow and beyond, because this space is moving very, very quickly in terms of technology development and innovation and the way that devices are operating and the systems they're using and all these sorts of things, lots of kind of dependent variables within that. We believe it should be customisable, and within customisable we should believe it should be configurable to keep your cost of ownership down. So there should be a whole bunch of things that you can turn on and off in a very dynamic way. And we believe it should be agnostic around the other IT and business systems that you're using. It must enable inbound and outbound channel communication, and make sure you've given a thought to how you're going to keep on top of the kind of white heat of technological change. I'm guessing I'm about a minute over, but there I'm going to roll on with it.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Bernie.
I was just wondering, what sort of percentage channel shift are New Forest expecting? And I guess it's too early to say what they've experienced so far.
Okay. Can we take a couple together? Just we've got somebody down here.
Teresa Cunningham, Cheshire West and Chester Council. Very brief question to Bernie, actually. How much did it cost?
The New Forest project?
Yeah.
A little bit north of £5,000 to get the whole piece done, and that probably had a little bit for that for internal use as well.
And
yes, indeed. The question in terms of channel shift expectations. Ken is a long-standing veteran of local government activity. He's been very modest and conservative in his initial expectations. He's aiming for something from recall, so don't quote me on this too heavily, something in the region of 7% shift, I think, within the first 6 to 12 months. It's too early, and thanks for the get out on that, Tony, to really try to give you some numbers. As soon as I have them, and we are working with Ken and our other customers to garner those figures, but we'll be publishing those for sure.
Thank you very much indeed. While other people are thinking about questions, we have a colleague down here in the front.
Okay, let's mention that we targeted 10% in the first year, and as you can see, it's at 16%.
Hi, my name is Alistair Gilchrist. I'm Interim Resources Director for Windsor and Maitland, but I used to work in Westminster too. Just congratulations, Jeff, on an excellent, interesting presentation, Bernie too. Just interested in channel shift. I'm surprised to see the market seem to have shifted significantly, and just looking at my own borough, we get 10 times more people visiting the web and calling us. And I wondered both what your expectations or understanding was of that shift, but also have you ever worked out the cost per transaction on web and on the phone and face-to-face? Because I'd just be interested to know what you think it is. I used to work at EasyJet years ago, and we reckon we had the cheapest call centre in the world, and we handled sort of calls at about £3 per transaction. A lot of other local authorities have said no, it even costs us 1 or 2, but I think the answer is nearer 5 or 6. So I'm just interested in your view, and when you enunciate that kind of figure to people, does it shift their understanding of what channel shift should be all about?
I'll try and pick up the cost piece because it's really interesting. When we did the business case for this originally, we looked at the Soxham figures, and when I chatted to them about where it came from, I think they said that I'd given it to them, which was slightly concerning. I think most people agree that there's kind of an order of magnitude difference between the web. If you look at all the technology that sits behind it, so that's in your 30 to 50p territory, your telephone being £3 to £5, and then your face-to-face maybe being, I don't know, probably 12 to 15 is what we've looked at. The problem is, you don't get to work out some of the costs until you either create the infrastructure that delivers it, or until you can actually switch it off. So, for example, if we shifted lots of transactions to web from face-to-face, but we didn't shut down local service centres, or we didn't reduce the number of staff, well, actually, it's just additional cost. So what we had to do was to tie it all up together into a local project for us that said, we think we can go down from 8 local service centres perhaps to 2, which releases this amount of money and this number of staff. So we had to create a local business case. but based upon an understanding originally that there is something of an order of magnitude difference between face-to-face and the telephony, which is our other main interaction.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Are there any further questions? If not, let's just, before we break for coffee, because I think it would actually interest Bernie and Jeff, let's have a quick show of hands in here. How many people in here are actually involved right now where the digital delivery of public services are affecting their jobs or their job roles? Do we have a quick show of hands? Put my hand up. Right, it's a few. Right, well, probably no more than about 1 in 10, I would have thought, looking at you as a group. Let's have a show of hands about people who believe that digital delivery will never affect their job roles and services. 1 hand up down. Your life, sir, is going to be a misery for some time onwards. But if you think it is going to affect you, when do you think it's going to affect you? Next year? 5 years in the front? How many people think it's going to be 5 years before they're going to be affected by it? One or two. I think actually it will hit most of us faster than we do appreciate. It's quite interesting at the university we've been kind of gathering some little case studies actually about digital delivery of services at a very, very local level, where even the council itself is not aware at a corporate level that it's actually affecting them. So I think that's sort of really interesting issue, but 2 very interesting case studies, and thank you very much.